All right, y'all, we here. Bottom line, week 2 of NCAA college football. So unlike week 1, where all the power teams and all the ranked schools were playing each other, week 2 was a lot different. It was a lot of those scheduled games where all the power conference teams and the top five and the top teams were basically had those hand-picked games where they were supposed to blow out, and most of them did what they were supposed to do. The only good game that we had this week was Oklahoma and Michigan. That was basically the only two ranked teams that kind of played each other, and it was, even though the score didn't really look like it was kind of a domination by Oklahoma. But for the most part, all the teams that were supposed to win, that's what they did. So, I mean, you had like Boise State, that's in that that a lot of people had picked for that Power Five to win, even though they got embarrassed in week 1 by South Florida, but they bounced back this week with a 51-14 win over Eastern Washington. Yeah, Texas Tech, Big 12, 62-14 over Kent State. Yeah, Penn State beat FIU 34-0. Florida State been looking good the last 2 weeks. They embarrassed Alabama last week, and this week they beat East Texas A&M 77-3. Indiana for me is a sleeper, and actually a sleeper to make the playoffs. I think their quarterback should be in the Heisman runnings. Fernando Mendoza, I think he's a sleeper, a sneaky win to get in to be at least be a finalist for the Heisman. They won 56-9 for Indiana. Illinois is another sleeper, also to get into the playoffs. A lot of people have been talking about them, even though their strength of schedule is not as strong as the other teams. They've been looking real impressive. They won 45-19 over Duke. Iowa State, another sleeper team that a lot of people are saying might be able to sneak into the playoff, but they beat their rival Iowa at home, but it was a dogfight, 16-13. Arch Manning in Texas bounced back. He had a huge game, 4 touchdowns with a rushing touchdown. And they won their game against San Jose. So it was a shootout between Baylor and SMU. So SMU had the lead, and Baylor really fought back late into the fourth quarter to send it in overtime, and they ended up winning in double overtime, 48-45. And they're both two Big 12 teams. Like I said, they said the Big 12, they got a lot of good teams that are in the Big 12. Texas Tech, Baylor, SMU is in there. Pitt, they got a lot of teams that are fighting for the Big 12. So it's gonna be a dogfight to whoever's coming out of there. But Baylor on the road at SMU over 17 ranked SMU. And Baylor, after their home loss to Auburn in week 1, they kind of fell out of the rankings. But that was a huge win, so we'll see where they put them. But huge win for Baylor. Pitt 45-17, another one of those. That's one of those Power 5 schools that a lot of people, some people pick Pitt to sneak in with that last seed for the college playoff with that Power 5. Yeah, Texas A&M in the SEC, they won their game 44-22. You had Georgia 28-6. Now Georgia, they were because of who they were playing. A lot of people felt like they should have blown this Austin P or Pay or whatever their name is. They should have blew them out, but they didn't. They actually ended up in a dogfight. They won 28-6. But they were supposed to have one of those big score blowouts, and especially being at home against them. But they struggled. But hey, they pulled up the win out, 28-6. Then you got Oregon 69-3 over Oklahoma State. Big win for Oregon. Clemson also. Now a lot of the analysts and a lot of TV personalities actually picked Clemson to. They said that Clemson could win it all. That Dabo Swinney and Cade Klubnik was supposed to be a Heisman Trophy favorite, but they have not looked like that in the first 2 weeks. I mean, they were they won 27-16, but they were struggling in this game, really, really struggling against Troy. Man, they pulled it out late, but they have not in the first 2 weeks. They lost last week at home to LSU, and then at home this week against Troy, and they barely, like I said, they were struggling most of the game. They were able to get the win, but throughout the first 2 weeks, they do not look like a team that could compete for a national title. So they better get it together. Tennessee with a big statement win, 72-17 over East Tennessee State. Now Tennessee's got a huge game next week. Tennessee is going to be at home with a huge game next week, so they'll be able to really make a statement if they can pull out. I gotta check who they playing. I forgot, but they got a big game next week, so we'll see what Tennessee is all about. Ohio State 70-0 over poor old Grambling State, and who else was it? Navy with a big win over UA. 38-24 over UAB. Navy's another one of those Power 5 teams that some people pick to get that last 12 spot out of the Power 5, the big Power 5, whatever the fuck they call it. Where all those mid-major teams, there's one team out of those 5 mid-major conferences that's gonna make it. And so some people had Navy. I've heard Navy, Toledo, Pittsburgh, Tulane, and Boise State. Some of the teams that I've heard might come out of that Big 5 to make that final college playoff spot at number 12. So Navy, they on track. They won the last 2 weeks. Coach Prime and Colorado they went all the way down to their third string quarterback. Got the win over Delaware at 31-7, but everybody got a little chip of the action. They played 3 quarterbacks. They went all the way down to third string quarterback. So interesting. We're gonna see what Colorado decides to do going forward and who they think. Because I thought they had the young boy that was going to be their starting quarterback, but it looks like Coach Prime is mixing them up and see who's going to be playing the best and see who's he's going to have going forward. Because they're not expected to do much this year. You know, obviously they lost Travis Hunter. You lose Shador Sanders. They're a little scrambled for exactly what they want to do. It's not set in stone for Coach Prime. So I think he's just shuffling things, mixing things up just to see, you know, who's going to come out on top and who's going to win that job going forward. And I guess he wants to see him in, you know, real games, real time to see who's going to do that. So, the big upset of the weekend, South Florida. USF defeats the Gators, man. The Gators lost at home, man, as a huge favorite to South Florida. And they really just messed up their playoff. Like, those are the games that you can't lose if you're trying to make the college football playoff. They already didn't have you guys, you know, high on the rank. So because of strength of, you know, they have a strong strength of schedule. They have a strong schedule. They're playing a lot of good teams. But with the fact that they're playing all those good teams coming up in the next coming weeks, when they get in the conference play, these are the games that you got to win against these unranked opponents that you are a huge favorite to win at home. And you get upset. You only score 16 and you end up losing to USF. So that really hit Florida, man. That's a big blow to Florida with that loss. And like I said, with the schedule, the gauntlet that they got upcoming, it's not looking good for them at all. I mean, they're going to really, really need to have some convincing wins against some of the teams that they're going to be playing in the next couple of weeks. But if you're losing the University of South Florida at home, I mean, I don't know. It's not looking too good for them. They really might have just messed up their season, their college playoff football hopes with that loss to USF. But like you said, they really got to step it up moving forward. And a side note, shout out to Michael Vick, my favorite NFL player of all time. But you know, he's down there coaching in up there in Norfolk State. He got his first win, 34-31 over Virginia State. So shout out to Michael Vick. We got and Miami. Yeah, so in Miami they beat Bethune-Cookman, obviously 45-3. That was supposed to be. And South Carolina gets their win over South Carolina State 38-10. So like I said, most of the teams that were supposed to get their victories, they did that. They handled business. The only upset of the weekend really was the USF in Florida. And then obviously the biggest game of the weekend was Michigan and Oklahoma. And Auburn too. Shout out to Auburn. Auburn 2 in a row now. Had a big win against Baylor and handled their business this weekend against Ball State. So they won their game 42-3. So Auburn's also off to a hot start. And then Oklahoma defeated Michigan 24-13. And I know Michigan, they got that true freshman quarterback, Bryce Underwood, man. I think he's really good, but I don't know. The coach really called conservative, man. Really conservative. They did a lot of runs. They ran the ball a lot. I thought they could have put the ball in the air a little more, or they could have even ran Bryce Underwood a little more. They were real conservative with the play calling, man. Sometimes I just don't understand it. If the run is not working, if the run is not there, I get it. You got to run the football to establish pace and to get the play action going, and it opens up the pass. But if the run is not working, sometimes you have to trust your quarterback. I know the boy is a true freshman, but at the end of the day, man, you gotta let him loose. You gotta let him show what he's capable of, show what he got. He's your starter. He won the starting job for a reason. But you got to open up the playbook, man, and let him prove that he can go out there, especially in a big game. You on the road, hostile environment. You in Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? You got to let the boy loose. If the run is not there, and it's not working. I know they had that big 5-yard run by the running back. I forgot his name, and I know he broke one, but other than that, man, they kind of shut the run down. So I thought they would have opened up the pass a little bit and let him get loose, and they didn't. They really struggled for the most part on offense, and I believe they scored late, but for the most part, they only had 7 points. Like I said, it was off that 75-yard run touchdown. Other than that, they didn't provide much offense. You know what I'm saying? And John Mateer, he looked real good, man. Throwing, passing, really had the offense. He was in command of the offense. And so Oklahoma got the win there. LSU struggled. Now the final score was 23-7. They were playing Louisiana Tech at home, but once again they were struggling early. I was very surprised. Nussmeier, he didn't have his best game this week. He did not have his best game. He played a real good game last week when they went down to Clemson and won the game, but they struggled once again against a team that you're supposed to embarrass, man. They put y'all went from number 9 when from last week when you guys played Clemson. They ranked y'all number 9. Then you beat Clemson. Huge win on the road, and they put you all the way up to number 3. Some people had y'all the number 2 ranked team in the country after you guys upset Clemson. But you come out this week and you, like I said, you won the game. You did what you were supposed to do, but you laid an egg. You were supposed to blow this team out of the water. And like I said, you struggled until late into the ball game. For a lot of the game, y'all were struggling to put points on the board. The defense stepped up and was doing good, but the offense just couldn't get it going. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see after this win if they keep. I know they still won the game, but to see if they actually keep them as the number 3 team in the country after that. So, like I said, we will see. But like I said, and of course Alabama bounced back 73-0 over Louisiana Monroe. They really needed that after the way they looked last week. They calling for the coach's job, saying the culture is shot, that they're not the same Alabama no more. After last week, after they got embarrassed by Florida State, they was, like I said, calling for the coach's job, saying that the culture's not the same. He's not the right guy. They look soft. They got dominated, which they did on both sides of the ball. So, like I said, you did what you were supposed to do. They'll bounce back in impressive fashion. Like I said, 73-0. That's how you're supposed to whoop up on a team that you're supposed to whoop up on. Let people know that you still Bama and that you still got it. So, like I said, and that's what I mean about the LSU game. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, if they would have came out and won 24-0 or even 30-0, it's like, what the hell is going on? They would have been questioning y'all. No, they came out and stopped a mud hole and they really put it on this team, which they supposed to do. 73-0, stomp them. That's what you were supposed to do. That's what LSU should have did. But like I said, I'm glad that they bounced back. So once again, they got the Georgias and the Texas A&Ms and they got a tough schedule coming up too. Once they get into conference SEC play, they're gonna be playing a lot of games. So we're gonna see what Alabama's made of. And like I said, for the most part, all the other teams did what they're supposed to do. So yeah, good week 2. Like I said, in a couple weeks we got conference play coming up, so that's when we're gonna start getting all the good SEC games, Big 12, Big 10, all the ranked teams win the matchup. So looking forward to the rest of the college season as well. And so far, after 2 weeks, I will say this. The preseason, they had Arch Manning, they had Nussmeier, Klubnik. These are the guys that they had as the front runners for the Heisman Trophy. But for me, through the first 2 weeks of the college season, I would say the 3 quarterbacks that I would put as the front runners who's looked the most impressive to me through the first 2 weeks is John Mateer out of Oklahoma, Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, and obviously Castellanos from Florida State. I think, and if it was me, and Carson Beck also from Miami. Carson Beck definitely in there from Miami. So those are the 4 quarterbacks that I think right now are leading. If you were saying who after 2 weeks is the leaders in for the Heisman Trophy, I would say Carson Beck from Miami, Castellanos from Florida State, John Mateer from Oklahoma, and Lenore Sellers. You throw him in there from South Carolina. Dave looked the most impressive, but like I said, as we get into conference play and we really get into the thick of the season, we will see who come out on top. So, like I said, great second week, and we're looking forward to next week, man, to see who's going to be staying consistent from there.